Hey guys, it's Stacy from Building the Blue Bridge. Haven't done one of these in a while where I just talk about current events, so I thought I would I'd put one of these videos out. And I have a bedtime story for you anyway, so perfect timing. So my bedtime story is The Tale of Two Criminals. So it goes like this. The first criminal. And it's got a local twist to it. So for those of you that are not from here, I am located in the Chattanooga, North Georgia area. So on Saturday night past, there was a gentleman that was in one of our suburbs, and he was being pulled over by a police officer, or I should say a sheriff. And this particular gentleman did not want to be pulled over or arrested and decided that he was going to resist arrest. And in doing so, he decided that he would use his vehicle as a weapon and attempt to run over the sheriff. And the sheriff decided he did not want to be run over, did not want to has spent his Saturday night being squished on the road, and therefore used his service revolver and did shoot the first criminal number one. And he did not kill him. The criminal was transported to a local hospital. So that is part one of our story for criminal number one. Part two, the very next day, August 23rd, in a land far away called Kenosha, Wisconsin, criminal number two was visiting a local apartment complex with his children in the back, and ran into a bit of trouble, and the cops showed up, and this criminal number two decides he wants to run amok. The police attempt to take him in. This criminal has the same reaction as our first one, does not want to go in and decides to resist arrest. The police try to restrain him. He does not want to be restrained, and a tussle ensues. Criminal number two decides he is going to briskly walk to his vehicle, where he is going to get his knife or something from his vehicle and do whatever. No one knows at this point other than the police officers and of course criminal number two. By the time he gets to the vehicle, the police officer discharges his service revolver and prevents criminal number two from harming himself, the officer, the children, or any bystanders. Now, my bedtime story will not go into any kind of details about the number of shots, whether that was excessive, any of kind of that. What my bedtime story will do is however, give these details. The two criminals have very similar criminal backgrounds. They're very similar in that respect. What's different about these two stories is the ending. So going back to criminal number one, so he's in the hospital, and the local media has reached out to his family to get their reaction and to ask them, how they feel about the sheriff shooting their cousin, their son, etc. And the family's reaction is this, and I quote loosely: "Do not hold that sheriff accountable. It's not his fault. He's always been a criminal, and he's always going to be a criminal. End quote. Now, the reaction of the family for criminal number 2 is slightly different. Their reaction is to blame the police, to say it was excessive, to say they should have let him go, to say all kinds of things other than the fact that he was a criminal. Always gonna be one, always has been. Another big difference. Our city, fine, still stands. This one, it's burning to this day. It's August 27th. This family whipped up, and I'm not blaming them. I blame the media, because the media, for their own purposes, and other people, the lawyers and everybody else, for financial reasons, because there's money, put those people in front of a camera while they were still raw with emotion and let them go. And so they said things that they may not have normally said. And raw emotion just poured out of them. And so that's spilled into the community and set forth a chain of reaction and a chain of events that has just decimated lives. Decimated. Now you may say, now Stacy, that's a very big word. That seems a bit severe. Decimated? Well, yes. Think about all the countless businesses that have been destroyed. People, small business owners, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into those businesses. Every last penny they have, they scrape it together to get the seed money. And then they go and they beg for money. So by the time they have a business, everything is poured into it. I can only imagine what it must have been like just to get through Corona. To have this happen, they'll never recover. Some of them will never recover. And it's not just that. Not just the fact that just the wounding of that alone. The financial impact. Some of these people won't be able to feed their children now. They won't be able to pay their house payment. They won't be able to keep their electricity on. This is how they pay their bills. How are they going to sustain themselves? Well, you say, well, they'll be fine. I'm sure that they'll get money from, insurance. Guess what, people? Riots aren't covered under their property insurance. It's specifically put in there. Unless a person has bought an insurance, an amendment to their insurance policy, which most people do not do. It's like, did you buy flood insurance? Unless you are required to buy flood insurance because you live in a floodplain or flood zone, you don't buy it, right? Because it's extra. Unless somebody makes you buy it, you're not going to buy it. I bet you a dime a dozen, they didn't buy it. So it's not going to be covered. So when someone says, it's just stuff, they've got insurance, no, they don't. No, they don't. So when all these people are donating millions of dollars to Antifa and all these other, Black Lives Matter, and all the while all these other businesses, black owned or brown owned or immigrant owned, are suffering, it really, really just and for what? the lives that have been decimated. And then, now we have 2 more people dead. Now, again, my story doesn't go into whether or not those 2 people, their backgrounds. But they still are 2 people. They were. And then the young man that had to pull the trigger. He's forever changed. He should not have had to make that choice. A 17-year-old should not have had to go out and be defending. We should not have had to make him feel like he had to do that. We're the adults. Where were we? So that's the other thing I want to talk to you guys about. September the 13th is our next event. It's here in Fort Overthorpe and Ringgold. This is our opportunity to take a stand, to show up. We cannot be scared anymore. We cannot be afraid to come out of the darkness and go into the light, guys. We have to stand up. We have to make a stand. This country is worth fighting for. I, for one, will be there on September the 13th. I will be proud to be there. I don't care who's going to show up. If Black Lives Matter, if every single one of them shows up, you know what I'll do? I will shake their hand. Now I know that, and I'm sure they'll spit in my face, but I'll rise above it. I will channel the spirit of Martin Luther King. That's how they were successful. It didn't matter what those people did to them. They never retaliated. They always stayed calm. They were always dignified. And they were successful. We have nothing to fear. We are in the right. What we do have to fear is the loss of our country. What we do have to fear is that our 17-year-old kids have to have blood on their hands because we were too afraid to stand up and protect. That we should be afraid of. I'm not afraid, and you shouldn't be either. We have nothing to be afraid of. We are not racists. We are loving people. Let's show them how loving we are. Let's show them by doing this thing first. I'll see you on September the 13th, 1 o'clock, the Catoosa Sheriff's Office. I can't wait to see you there. Bye, guys.